Yeah, that was an expensive bill that we're gonna have to pay and wait a few months to get our money back on.
Cash flow. Gotta love it.
I mean, thankfully this time
Gotta
of
love
year,
cash flow.
there's plenty of cash flow.
That's right. Unlike stupid dry January, whatever the fuck that is.
A podcast about bourbon and the ones who drink it. This is Bourbon Matters. Welcome to Bourbon Matters. I'm Jake.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Gold Eagle Jake.
We got a, hodgepodge of topics to go through tonight.
Get close
one
to
of
the
those
end
episodes.
Of the year. Give us credit.
We'll see where this one takes
filler
us.
Episode.
We should have done a clips episode.
Yeah.
Clip show.
I thought about doing that once, and I was like, I'd have to go back and watch like 150 episodes and try and find things. I was like, yeah, never mind.
Yeah, and you don't do any work anyways, so like, good luck on that.
So we got a couple stories.
Not
listener
stories.
questions.
One's major news.
Well, yeah, major news stories.
Well, one's major news.
One, yeah.
Which
the
one?
other one's, I don't know. More of a follow-up. Yeah, we'll start with the big news. Four Roses is up for sale. What's the holding company? Kirin.
Kirin. K-I-R-I-N. It's a Japanese company that's owned it since the early aughts.
Yeah, they're looking to sell it for $1 billion. I think this kind of hit a few weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
We've been busy with
most people probably
interviews and stuff.
are aware about the news, but we haven't really gotten a chance to discuss it yet.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Four Roses is obviously one of the big six distilleries in Kentucky.
One of the oldest.
So yeah, interesting decision, and a pretty hefty price tag.
Just one.
Just one.
Yeah.
Not a few billion, just $1 billion.
Just $1 billion.
I mean, I don't know if we have talked about sale prices. Well, I don't know how many. We're going to talk about Old Elk in a little bit. I don't know what Old Elk sold for, but I don't think it was anywhere close to $1 billion.
Well, they're also not nearly as big as Four Roses.
Yeah. I was gonna say this one's interesting because they're, Penelope, for example, pretty sure that was 200 million they sold for, and that was a couple years ago, right as I think bourbon was like just booming everywhere, and 200 million is a pretty good amount for a brand that doesn't really have a ton of inventory. And they're not distilling, so I'm assuming they don't have a ton of equipment either. And then when I compare that to Four Roses being sold for $1 billion, it kind of seems like Four Roses is not being sold for enough, even though I do think there's no way it sells for $1 billion. Maybe Penelope was bought for too much.
In that, for sure.
In that scenario.
I think, like 2, 3, 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, when stuff started being sold left and right, I think like Wilderness Trail was one, and Jefferson, and you saw a lot of these going for hundreds of millions of dollars, and then we really haven't had too much since then. It all of a sudden just kind of stopped. And then seeing a big distillery like this, which isn't, like Jake, like you said, it's not comparable to the other ones that have been sold, because this is very old distillery.
And a legacy distillery, and one of the big six. Distillery.
Yeah.
A big Kentucky distillery that's been around forever. It was all newer startup distilleries that were being sold, or younger distilleries that had been around for less than 20 years. Nothing that has over 100 years of history behind
Also, probably the best merch in all of Kentucky.
it.
I don't know. Here you
The
come with this weird shit, but
I don't know. I love my quarter zip from Four Roses. It's like the coolest shirt I own.
and we're not getting paid to do this. They do have a very, very nice gift shop. It is very flashy. They have lots of nice things. But yeah,
which is good
I
because their
don't.
tasting and tours suck.
I'm not buying $1 billion of a brand because of their merch. That's for sure.
No, but I mean, they have a pretty large scale production facility. They have a lot of warehousing.
A lot of barrels,
Yeah,
a
lots
big,
of.
big following. Everybody knows Four Roses. There's a ton that you can do with this brand. I mean, they're constantly putting out 10-year barrel proof bourbons. You go into either their distilleries now, and they have several barrels that they release every single day of their 10-year barrel strength. And there's not a lot of other distilleries that are doing that on as consistent of a basis. So that tells me they have a huge inventory. And they are also one of the few brands that's sold very, very well around the world.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
go into
I think
most countries all across the world, and you can find Four Roses.
they're
I
like
had
what
it in
number? Like,
Slovenia. Like
yeah,
that was like when I was in Slovenia, I was looking for whiskey, and the one bar's like, we have Four Roses, which a bar in the U.S. Who cares? But when you're in an area where it's basically Jack or Jim, and you see Four Roses, you're like, oh fuck yeah, I'll take the Four Roses.
it's
Well,
like
that's the thing
Four
is,
Roses has to be like number 2 or number 3 behind Jack, then probably Jim, and then probably Four Roses. I would think for
yeah, I think
global sales.
a lot of people don't think of them as big as they really are because they've been owned by the Japanese for so long. They really focused a lot on exporting product to other parts of the world. And I believe even in the, don't quote me on this, but like 50s, 60s, somewhere around that time, they only exported. They didn't even sell in the U.S.
Yeah,
Yeah, look that up, Dan. But so that is, this is a big brand we're talking about. And yes, when you go into other places around the world, a lot of times it's Jim, Jack, and Four Roses. And you wouldn't really expect Four Roses to be up there with those two, but they do a ton of international sales. That's a huge part of their business. So, um, yeah, I don't know. It's $1 billion is a lot of money, but if a brand could pull it off, I think it would be Four Roses.
yeah. So you said you don't think it'll sell for $1 billion. Do you think it's going to be higher or lower?
I think it'll be a little bit lower. But I'm not looking at numbers. I don't know what they do in annual sales. This is just off the top of my head, on the way that the, whiskey market is right now. I just think it's not really, um, there's a lot of saturation going on right now. I won't dare say that it peaked, but, um, there's a lot out there.
I don't think it'll go for $1 billion. I think the more important thing to talk about though is who's gonna buy this. So if we're trying to figure out if they're going to get $1 billion or not, that's obviously more than most of us can afford. I would say you're looking at so like easy ones to think of would be like Constellation, right? Constellation could
Oh,
probably swing it,
I hope
Yeah.
not. They've
but
screwed up so many brands.
right. But they're ones that have that money.
Right.
Like
Well, I
it's
mean,
going
it's
to be
either going to
that,
be another holdings company or
right?
it's going to be
But
a conglomerate, a beverage conglomerate.
or it could be another. I mean, could Heaven Hill or Buffalo Trace, something like that, do it possibly?
Yeah.
I think the chances, if they're going to try and get for $1 billion, I think your investment firms, your holdings companies, with
For
the
sure.
way the sales have gone lately, are definitely not going to want to get it for for $1 billion.
No. Yeah.
I mean, again, we don't know how much stock is all, or how much whiskey is all involved in this, but they're not going to go for it for $1 billion. I think the only way they're going to probably get $1 billion for it is if they're looking at another distillery or like a Constellation or Diageo's in a lot of trouble or a lot of financial flows. So I don't see them going after it. But that's the more scary part of who ends up with it, and then what happens to Four Roses. I mean, you're not going to scratch the name or anything, but it'd be interesting to see what happens in the future with it.
I kind of hope it's somebody who doesn't have a lot of other brands and somebody who just kind of has the money, or a holdings company that has the money and is passionate about bourbon and kind of wants to do something different, because we've seen over and over again all these big Constellation, Diageo just buying and buying and buying and ruining brands. Now it's going to be pretty hard to ruin Four Roses, but when you have so many different, I'm talking hundreds and thousands of different liquor brands out there, how focused can you be on one of those brands? So there's just, way too much on the table for those guys to really focus on building Four Roses to its full potential, which I still think it's like untapped potential. Like there's a lot of things Four Roses could be doing with their inventory to take themselves to another level.
Yeah. I think they're probably, of the big six, they're probably the most underrated.
Yeah, because they only have 4 SKUs, right? Mm-hmm. They have the straight bourbon, small batch, single barrel, and small batch select, and 10 recipes. They could be doing a lot with those 10 recipes. The Four Roses limited edition. I mean, that is something to segue into our question about how many bottles we get. And I think it was Patrick said he can't believe we get, single bottles of stuff. That's something that we get single bottles of. Mm-hmm. Four Roses limited edition. Like we get maybe 2, sometimes 3 bottles a year. And I don't see why, with the size of Four Roses, that's not something that they can scale upward even more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other question to think about too is, why are they deciding to sell it now? So we don't need to get into the argument that Dan's right and bourbon peaked a while ago, and now they're trying to cut bait with one of the biggest distilleries. But it's interesting. It comes at a time when we've had a couple of years of downward sales trends in not just the whiskey industry, but liquor industry as a whole has been going down the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, I mean,
the Japanese are smart.
Four Roses in 2002, they've made their money back. Like,
oh yeah, they're coming out ahead of this. So they're probably trying to maximize their profit. And that's probably they're probably knowing that. I bet they're probably considering that it's only going to go down from here for a while. They're still going to come out ahead because they've owned it for plenty of time. But I think they've seen the writing on the wall that it's going to get tougher now.
Well,
Four Roses.
Even
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Here, for the next 5-10 years, they, that holdings companies just want to.
And Four Roses isn't one that's probably going to be one of the first ones to go if it does get worse, and distilleries start having to shut down more. Four Roses will be one that'll probably be safe for quite a while.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's any immediate threat of Four Roses is going by the wayside by any means with the sale. I think it's a investment companies trying to maximize their amount of money. They probably should have sold it 2 or 3 years ago. They probably realize that, and they're not seeing anything turn it around. So try and get as max out of it as you can.
Yeah.
I'm right. No one had a counter argument, so we know that I'm right.
No,
I mean you're not right, but it is a good time to sell a brand like that. Like there's just so
3 years ago would have been the time to sell.
Well, yeah, but they didn't.
Well,
so I'm saying now,
if you're
it's a good move.
Predict the future, then it would have been a perfect move to sell it 3 years ago.
But with how many brands there are out there right now, you're just, it's only going to get harder and harder to fight for sales and shelf space and belly space in people's bellies.
Yeah.
That was just as dumb as Jake's comment earlier. Jesus.
I mean, I don't know.
relevant,
Trying to make it a little interesting. Like, give the listeners a little
That
chuckle
wasn't
on
the
their
way
way
to
to
do
work.
it. That wasn't the way to do it.
Don't be jealous, Dan.
I'm not. I do want to say I did hear that Drew's been plugging us for people that come into the store.
Oh,
shit all the time.
yeah, you got to give a shout out to Drew.
Yeah.
I just did.
Again.
Just did. I gave him a shout out. He's fine. He'll be okay.
Drew asked me this afternoon if he missed an episode because one didn't come out on Sunday. And I was like, no, we skipped a week. And he was like, oh, I didn't have any talking points for Monday. So.
Well, now I can't wait to hear what he says about Four Roses being up for sale. And
what are your guys? If you're listening, what are your thoughts on Four Roses? Is this something you don't even really care about? Because maybe you're one that doesn't drink a ton of Four Roses, or like I don't. I mean, I have Four Roses on my shelf, but it's the tasting kit with all 10 recipes that I still haven't opened. But that's the only Four Roses. I don't think I've had any Four Roses on the shelf in years. So,
I usually have a small batch select somewhere.
I mean, or I think it's going to be more interesting what happens at Four Roses and how this is going to impact the other big distilleries and the other smaller distilleries who, every size distillery who's fighting for that shelf space and for that market share. It's going to be very, very telling, I think, the amount that Four Roses sells for, where we are headed next.
Or if it sells. I think that'll be more telling if it sells.
I think it will.
I think it will. Like, I think they put it up for sale because they want to sell it, and I think they would take less than, like, much less than. I don't know, though. I don't know. I mean, again, Penelope, if that was 200 million.
Are you on the board, Jake?
I wish.
Are you on the board? Do you have inside information on this?
I'm using my own speculation, my expertise in the field and the industry.
My guess it'll go for like $750 million, somewhere around there.
Yeah, but that's crazy. Like, how is Penelope selling for a third of that?
Oh wait. So, like, my opinion, the Penelope thing.
Yeah, you're not an expert opinion, though. You're just an idiot. So let's preface that.
I mean, sure. I get it that was like best case scenario in a peak moment.
Well, I mean, even that aside, I think that was just MGP realizing, like, we just, like, basically built this brand without actually having built this brand. So, like, let's just gobble it up. And
yeah, let's just waste up 200 million and put our same whiskey in these prettier bottles.
Like, we've talked about MGP's, like, hardcore struggle to, like, build brands. So, like, that was probably, like, the best investment opportunity they've come across in a long time.
Absolutely.
But wasn't, like, Jefferson, like, 360 million, or Wilderness Trail was 400 million? Like, you would think that they would be way more than double
but
that.
those
Wilderness was a bit less. Yeah, those are, they have all the facilities, big.
Jefferson didn't. Not much of a facility for Jefferson.
Well, Wilderness Trail had a very nice, massive facility, and they were set up for a ton of contract distillation. Yeah. They were doing a lot of contract distillation for other brands. So that is just like mind-blowing that Penelope, and we probably should stop beating the dead horse because, yeah, it was peak moment, and they just got in at the right time, and there's probably going to be people that comment backing that up that they just got lucky with that sale. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
no equipment or anything.
Yeah, it is kind of dumb because, like, there's no way that they even had like 50 million in barrels in inventory. Like,
no, they were
very
buying
surprised.
they were buying and blending and buying and blending and buying and blending. Like they were
Yeah,
not
I
sitting
thought their
on
whole business
barrels.
model was like, yeah, just turning barrels and
Mm-hmm. And I
bottling.
mean, yeah. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. Mine's a little bit different. So,
No, I was just gonna kind of wrap up that thought by just saying, like, yeah, great move on MGP because they have so much whiskey that they're sitting on that they can't sell, and they are doing a good job coming out with these founders releases and older age statements because that's what people want. But still, I think there's no way they are seeing a return on that investment.
speaking of this, it made me think of another story I had talked about, and it's one we've talked, distillery we've talked a little bit about a few times. I saw the news coming out of Molson Coors that they had a pretty bad loss that they just took. With them being publicly traded, they recorded losses of $273.9 million. And the majority of that loss comes from two different brands, one of which is a Czech beer company. The other is Blue Run Spirits.
Oh, no shit.
And they had bought, what was it, 60 some million is what they bought into Blue Run. So they've basically written that as a loss of about 19 million that goes in the minority shareholders' balance sheet and not on Molson Coors. So that's rough for investors. So if we talked and we saw years ago the beautiful architecture that they're going to have their new distillery look like.
Yeah, it's not happening for sure.
No word since that's definitely done. So
yeah, well, I mean, I think Blue Run was probably a similar setup to Penelope, where they were just flipping barrels.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 50 or 60 million for them is, I mean, it's still kind of high, but that's more in line with what I would have guessed Penelope should have probably sold for. But
yeah.
But that's insane that flash in the pan has gone so quick. So
yeah, well, I mean,
apparently there's more to whiskey than high prices and pretty butterflies on a bottle, I guess.
Well, but also what part of that dollar amount had they already invested into building that facility?
They never broke ground on it.
Yeah, they never broke ground, right? So they might have owned the property, but
property, engineering, architecture, they spent probably a few million there. So, but yeah, that was the big one. Was Molson Coors just had a big loss, and majority of it's from those two brands. Which one we don't hear about because I'm not sure what the Czech company is. But
yeah, does it say anything in there about their? Does it say anything in there about their Five Trail or whatever that other whiskey brand is that they have?
It mentions it, but it doesn't say. It says that. Where was the line at?
Because I know that they were struggling big time to sell that.
Yep.
And they were running some really hot deals on it. And I think that's just like people, when they think of Coors, they think of cheap beer. Nobody's going to pay $80 to $100 for a bottle of Coors whiskey.
Yeah.
Molson Coors also revealed in another footnote that during the third quarter, the company realized that a triggering event that two of its brands, Blue Run Spirits and Czech Beer brand, were now worth less than the value of on the balance sheet. So, just those two is what was called out by name.
Oh, yeah. So Blue Run was like a total implosion then.
Yeah. Interesting. So, I still think $1 billion is going to be a lot for Four Roses. I think what we're going to start seeing is of the big companies that are publicly traded that are that bought these distilleries the last couple of years. I think we're going to see more of this coming along down the pipeline here in the next year. So, but personal opinion. I'm not normally wrong, but I could
Yeah,
be.
it'll be interesting. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of back and forth. I do think it's a lot of money, but if anyone could do it, one of the big six could. They're here to stay.
Yeah. I think
And I
yeah,
think
the
there's so
staying
much
power is
untapped
probably the
potential.
biggest thing going for them. So
Yeah.
all
But
right.
All right.
we can move
Um
on. We can come back to
Yeah.
this when we hear more information.
yeah, so we already touched on the question from Patrick. We can jump into that a little bit more in more detail. So Patrick asked, or kind of stated, that Jake mentioned on previous episodes that you only get one bottle of this or that, in the end of year allocations or throughout the year, that you save for the end of year allocation list. And he was kind of skeptical about that, saying that like a lot of shops that he knows of get like a handful or like a case of bottles, and they do some stuff like auctioning them off and different
Or he
things to like.
I don't think he said he knew that they did that. He assumed that they would get a case and like flip 5 bottles and then say they only got one bottle,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
which I'm sure there are some places that do flip bottles,
Yep.
but I would find it hard to believe if that was majority. I think that's a very small minority of places that are doing so because most of the small guys don't care pricing things higher than retail. Like they're catching the person, they're making their money off of cheap beer and handles of Tito's and Smirnoff, and they're just catching the person.
Fireball.
Yeah, Fireball. They're catching the person that is just out whiskey hunting and pops into the store and sees a bottle of whatever Michter's 10 year for 300 and doesn't mind paying an extra $100 to grab it. So I think a lot of the smaller guys, they're not flipping bottles illegally. They're just pricing things up to the secondary price in their store. I don't. You
Which
guys
is
probably.
it's totally fine when you're in a non-control state. That's
Yeah.
100% legal. At the end of the day, the retailer in a non-control state can put it on the shelf for what they want to.
And I don't think in a controlled state you're going to get away with flipping any bottles because they're
No,
pretty
it's 100%
tight on
illegal.
watching the inventory.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's illegal, but I mean, some places will do it. But no, it is a very realistic thing that we only receive 1 to 2 bottles. Most things that are like very highly allocated, we don't receive full cases. And the frustrating thing about that is we get charged split case fees anytime we order. So we don't order these, they just come. But like if we were to order like 2 bottles of Kettle One, weird flavor for a customer, we get upcharged because we're not ordering a full case. And it's very frustrating because even on the allocated items where we can't control how much we're getting, they still charge us split case fees. So I've always been kind of convinced that they're purposely sending us like 3 bottles this week, and then 2 weeks later, they're sending us 2 more bottles. Then the week after, they're sending us another bottle, and they say that they're like going through allocations, and as stores don't take their allocations, they redistribute bottles out. But really, they're making a lot of money at the end of the day on these split case fees. That it's only $2 or $3 a bottle, but it adds up when it's happening every single week from multiple distributors.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another frustrating thing too, because we factor that into our margin, and a lot of these allocated bottles that we don't get to choose if we get a case or get 2 cases, we just take what we can get. We have to charge a little bit higher than MSRP because we are getting hit with these split case fees that don't get put into configuration.
Yeah, that's kind of lame.
Yeah, it's super lame.
especially if you end
I
up
mean,
getting 6 bottles over the course of a
Yeah.
given amount of time.
well, I mean that is usually how it happens. Like, everyone will get their allocation, and then there's always, some stores for whatever reason that don't take their allocation, and I'm sure a lot of it is like your, I don't know, Target or like a gas station, who just don't know what they have. Sometimes it's your sales rep is on vacation, and if you're not on top of it asking for it, it won't come. And then when the allocation 2 week period ends, it just gets redistributed to all the stores that did take their allocation.
Mm-hmm. So that's that, Patrick.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
distributors. Nothing you can do. It's all
yeah,
about the
it is
distributors
the
making their money.
distributors. It's not the distilleries' fault. It's the distributors that are just finding ways to make a little bit extra money here or there.
Mm-hmm.
You got to play the game. You
Right?
got to play the allocation game. Everybody's part of the
Yeah.
allocation game.
Yes.
Hold on. Speaking of allocations,
Not.
tomorrow's the
Are you having
Saturday.
Yeah. Are you going to go hunt something?
Well, I figured I might as well see if there's anything on here.
Yeah. Well, while you're looking, we can jump into our last story, which is kind of a follow up to an episode we had a few months ago. Old Elk is finally coming back to the market under Middle West, the owned by Middle West now. Jake got insider info on that.
Yeah, not that Old Elk ever like officially left the market, but when the news broke that they did get bought out by Middle West, I think that was a big shock to everyone. And literally the next day, they closed their Colorado tasting room and seized all operations in Colorado to move to Ohio. And at that point, nobody really knew what was going to happen because they let go of all of our sales reps for Old Elk. So like we didn't have any contacts at Old Elk, and we didn't really see anything new from Old Elk come out in that time span. But I just talked to my Middle West rep today, who says they're coming back with barrel pick opportunities. They're going to have some new SKUs coming out, and everything is supposedly going to be older age stated and at a lower price, which Old Elk has kind of been going on that trend, but I think this is a really smart move by Middle West to reintroduce it at this lower price. They're seeing how much competition there is out there in the market, and it's time for these big distilleries to correct their pricing. And when I say big in that sense, I don't mean like the big six in Kentucky that have always had good pricing. I mean a lot of these bigger crafty brands that do have a big footprint in the market, but nowhere near the big guys that have been around for almost 100 years. So I think a lot of these guys are realizing we need to be a little bit more competitive with the big six, or else we're going to start falling way far behind and have to maybe even shutter down, with all the different competition there is with craft distilleries.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, Old Elk makes consistently good stuff. But like a lot of the times there's like not a reason for it to be like $110, $120. Like it should be like 70.
No, I think 2 or 3 years ago when we did our weeded pick, we kind of saw. Well, actually, the whole entire time we've been doing weeded picks, we saw the trend. It started at 6 years, and it worked its way all the way up to 8 year. And when we did our 8 year pick, it retailed for $100. Then we did a 9 year pick, it retailed for $90, and now they're doing 10 year picks that are supposedly going to retail for $75.
Mm.
So that's a pretty big drop in price and bump in age statement. So more value for the consumer, and I think that is the way to go. That's what all these distilleries are going to have to do if they want to stay competitive, and also makes you think that they just kind of sat on that Old Elk whiskey, let it get another couple years old when Middle West did buy them out, and now they're able to offer much more at a 10-year, which is very cool to see.
Are
Yeah,
they going to start blending in some of their own stuff in those though, or is it going to just be Old Elk's reserve stocks?
yeah. That's. I was
Yeah, I
wondering
don't
if they're
know.
gonna let like the older Old Elk stuff just kind of sit and continue to age, and then start mixing in some of the Middle West distillate for the like blended whiskey and like some of the other like you know more
Yeah,
like
it's
baseline
gonna
SKUs.
yeah, it's gonna be super interesting how they do that because Old Elk was built off of MGP, but they also had a lot of other distillate. They had a lot of stuff from New York.
Mm-hmm.
They had they had a little bit of this, they had a little bit of that. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how Old Elk does this whole transition, and if we will start to see distilled in Ohio on the label. We know Middle West is capable of doing the contract distillation needed to produce a good product for Old Elk, but that's going to take minimum 6 years until we see that, uh, unless there was some contract distillation already going with Middle West and Old Elk.
Yeah, I mean, well, Old Elk
Which
had
could
their
for
own
sure be a
whole
possibility.
like. I mean, yeah, it could have been.
They were distilling, but they also most of what they released was from MGP, and quite a bit was from the Finger Lakes region in New York. They were
Mm-hmm.
getting a lot of stuff out there. Our 8-year sour mash barrel pick was from New York.
Oh.
So I think that will be very interesting. I mean I always kind of had the theory that Middle West had started to contract distill for Old Elk, which is why the purchase made sense. Greg Metz leaving MGP, he was there for 30 years. I'm sure there was probably a little bit of iffiness there, and he didn't want to go directly back to MGP and get them to make whiskey for him after he left. So maybe there was something going on with Middle West and Old Elk, and that's why this whole buyout and transition just made sense for both parties.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I am going to be waiting in line at a liquor store tomorrow.
That good?
There's some good stuff, but there's not
Nothing
much.
super special.
Oh no, I'm just trying to see.
What's the best thing?
3, 4, 4. All right, so the best thing on the list is, speaking of it earlier, Four Roses limited edition.
Oh, that would be a good pickup.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are a total of 30 bottles of it coming to Utah.
Nice.
So that means
You'd have to be camping at 5 a.m.
I would be having to be. Oh, probably. I don't know. I don't know.
Camping now.
I would want to know. Yeah, I want to know how crazy it is for some of that stuff before, I just oh, I'll be there at 5 a.m. Then I wake my ass up and drive up there, and there's already 6 people in line. I'm like, well, fuck, that was worthless. There's not much.
Yeah, but then you'll get a bottle of 107 or something.
No, there's no Weller even on here. It's basically that. So some of this stuff you guys can be like, why the hell is this on the allocated list? It's because, Utah doesn't get a lot of whiskey. Things releasing this week in Utah. Old Fit 7-year bid.
Oh, that's kind of allocated right now, right? Technically.
Kind of, yeah. We get
Baker's High Rye.
1 case a week. Baker's High Rye has been sitting on our shelf since last year when it came out.
Angel's Envy, Bottled and Bond.
Also
a whole bunch
on our shelf.
a shit ton of Blanton's. The store I normally go to is getting 42 bottles of Blanton's. Eagle Rare, Remus Gatsby, and Taylor.
Sounds like Utah is a
Taylor's
tater state.
Yeah, there's not much.
Actually, the Remus Gatsby went down in price this year.
Yeah, say it's $199 instead of $250.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that one because it's still a 15-year bourbon.
Yeah, there's a couple stores getting 3. The majority of the bigger stores are getting a full case of 6. So, yeah, I will not be going and waiting in line for whiskey tomorrow.
Yeah, it's not a.
And even like waiting in line to pay $250 for the. Like, I like Four Roses Limited every time I've tried one, but I don't know if I'd want to pay $250 for it and wait in line to get it. Maybe I'm just old and a curmudgeon anymore. So,
well, you were born a curmudgeon.
Well, I think we know this. Most of our listeners know this. There's just so much good whiskey available. You don't need to wait in line
and pay $250 when you get something that you probably like just as much for $60.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, get a small batch select. It's still really good.
Or get one of the last bottles of our Four Roses 10-year barrel pick for $100.
Yeah.
Or one of the last 24 bottles of the Bourbon Matters barrel pick.
Yeah,
the Bourbon Matters Beautiful and the Damned.
Beautiful and the Damned. I saw a post on Gold Eagle's Instagram earlier this week that they're down to their final 6 cases. Jake, if people want to see what you guys have or when you get your tater releases in, I'm not going to ask you to say anything, but I'm just going to say it's been a few weeks since you've had a tater release on a Saturday. Which this is probably maybe going to come out after that Saturday. I think it's been, but if I'm just guessing that there's Blanton's here, there's probably Blanton's elsewhere, but maybe it's already happened by the time this episode comes out, or maybe it's the upcoming week. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that kind of speculation is BS. That if they got Blanton's, you're getting it. It doesn't necessarily work that way, especially in a different state. But I appreciate the transition.
We're recording this on a Friday, so if I see on the Gold Eagle Instagram tomorrow that there is a tater release, I'm going to give you so much shit on our text.
There will not be a tater release tomorrow now because of you, Dan. So everyone can thank you. Just kidding.
But now they know they should be watching for next Saturday.
No, actually, the reality is I'm not going to be able to be at the store tomorrow, and we're a little short-staffed. So there was never going to be a tater release tomorrow anyway. I mean, 'tis the season. This is the time of year where we start to get more stuff. So, yeah, you should always be paying attention. But also, if you're just looking for the tater drops, come on. We got so many things that are better. And, 6 months ago would have caused a mad rush into the store. So, don't go for something just because it's hard to find. The Beautiful and the Damned Old Orleans barrel pick that Dan was talking about. We've gotten so much great feedback on that. That was one of the best barrel picks we've done because it was just unplanned. We all just really, really liked this bottle and then came to find out that it was a barrel that had been bottled and was just sitting there because the owner of the brand liked that barrel so much. So, yeah, you can see our inventory at goldeaglewine.com. Follow us on Facebook at Gold Eagle Wine. Gold Eagle Spirits on Facebook, Gold Eagle Wine on Instagram. See our daily posts for whatever we get delivered. And, yeah, don't be a tater.
Yeah. Do you have an open bottle at the bar for the Old Orleans?
We do, yeah. We'll have an open bottle until the bottles are gone. All of our picks work that way. So come on in and grab a taste.
Yeah, definitely try it. You'll be impressed. And if you want to, or you get, sorry, I'll let you throw it to me, Dan.
My internet's been going out all day, and I'm pretty sure that's just what happened.
Yeah, because you're sitting there like really creepily frozen.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Did Jake finish doing his stupid plug?
Yeah.
Okay, Jake,
Yeah.
plug our shit then.
You can listen to us on Apple, Google, and Spotify. You can watch us on Spotify and YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment. We've been getting a lot of comments since like early summer, and we really love it. So keep it up. It's fun to get the feedback. Like Dan said, let us know what you think about the Four Roses sale. Let us know what you guys think about Old Elk under Middle West management.
It's gonna
Yeah.
suck.
On that note, see you next week.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
See you next week. Cheers.